Welcome to the Cascade PBS Ideas Festival podcast. I'm Paris Jackson, host of the newsfeed on Cascade PBS and your host for this podcast. In today's bonus episode, we're hearing directly from festival goers and a little more from the host of the GIST podcast, Mike Pesca, about his session. At this year's festival, the Cascade PBS Newsroom hosted a Share Your Story table. Our journalists encouraged attendees to sit down and discuss whatever was on their minds. People shared their thoughts on local and national officials and the state of housing in Seattle. Let's jump in with Serena Bayezid, one of the Cascade PBS journalists at this year's Share Your Story table.
One of the first people to stop by our booth was Rachel Kay. She was highly critical of the rising cost of living in the United States and shared her perspective on how hard it can be to gain and maintain wealth.
It's really hard to get ahead in this city and get ahead in America if you don't have sufficient intergenerational wealth to get into college and to finish college and to pay for your living expenses. And it's really hard to get out of poverty through getting an education because we don't provide enough support to college students or people providing vocational studies. And by support, I mean material support for living expenses, food. For example, as a college student, I got to work 20 hours a week in order for me to qualify for EBT, aka food stamps. And that's really hard to do if you have a disability or other caregiving obligations, or even if you're in a really rigorous academic program.
A few people who stopped by our table wanted to discuss the state of housing in Seattle. Kathleen Wolf is a research social scientist at the University of Washington studying nature-based human health. She expressed concern for the long-term environmental impact of the city's comprehensive plan and how it could affect people's well-being.
There are thousands of studies from all over the world about why nearby nature in cities, that is those parks, streetscapes, backyards, whatever it might be, pollinator pathways, and the benefits, the human benefits, various health benefits. So, how does that connect to housing? Well, I know often the issue is pitched as space, right? Limited space. Housing versus trees and nature. And I don't see it as an either or because there are a number of studies around the world, again, including the United States, that show that there is a disparity of nature contact and nature experience. Certain underserved populations, socioeconomic groups do not have as much nature in their environment. So the comp plan is reinforcing access, creation, design, construction of housing, but it is dismal in terms of including landscape in those designs. It is so focused on the structure of housing that it does not pay attention to the living environment, to the quality of the places that people will be living in. And my perspective is it is creating this disparity of nature access that we now understand is happening in cities. It will perpetuate it for decades as these housing units are being built without attention to large trees and landscape. There is a wide range of groups that are fighting for big trees. Big trees, that's the signature, that's the identity of Seattle, is big trees. And yet, developers often, with the blessing of the city's permitting department, can remove big trees for the sake of housing. And you're saying, well, okay, yeah, housing's important. And yet there are architects that have provided templates, housing templates of how you retain large trees and still achieve the same number of housing units. But it necessitates a flexibility rather than a cookie cutter stamp of how we build housing in the city.
Paul Barrera is an attorney representing a development in North Seattle. He echoed some of Kathleen's concerns about a uniform approach to the city's housing, saying the layouts of many neighborhoods don't encourage a sense of community. But he's more optimistic about Seattle's comprehensive plan, hoping it will encourage the design of more walkable communities.
It's this idea of a local village, and village development is far superior than the townhomes that keep getting built up. The destruction of communities that were once designed to be walkable. I think that the city of Seattle is failing in constantly allowing all these townhomes and ADUs being developed, creating more individuation, not creating that community space, not creating that walkable space. My hope is with this new One Seattle plan that will be result in a different zoning process, that it'll emphasize that when possible, these assemblages should be promoted, so that if we're going to upzone, we're going to make more dense urban spaces, it's walkable. People can live there, enjoy their life. There's not cars zooming around, it's quiet in the city. You can have your own apartment and then a place to stay and a place to hang and a place to build community. That's the whole idea.
We'll have more from Share Your Story at the Cascade PBS Ideas Festival after this.
BECU. You've heard the name, seen the letters. But what does BECU stand for? Simply put, not-for-profit BECU stands for people. For charting your own path. For choosing what's right for members instead of what's profitable for someone else. Because they are the reason our credit union exists. So we do everything in our power to help them reach their financial goals. BECU. Power in people. All Pacific Northwest residents are eligible to join. Federally insured by NCUA.
Some attendees wanted to share their thoughts on the president and his administration. Mike Nelson, a retired attorney, believes Donald Trump has turned the executive order into a fourth branch of government.
Well, I think with the role that the executive order is now playing, the legislative branch can't play its role. The judicial branch certainly can't play its role. And even the executive branch is having difficulties because it's being stepped on as everything else is being stepped on. Our values, our rights, our feelings, our traditions. And so now it's time that people step back and do something.
Rajat Agarwal, who was volunteering at the Ideas Festival, wonders why there seems to be so little response to the president's actions from the Democratic Party.
So there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and especially with Trump administration making so many decisions that making people anxious. I'm wondering, where is the opposition? Like, why is he able to do these things without any resistance?
Mike Pesca was at the Ideas Festival for a live taping of his podcast, The Gist, and came across our Share Your Story table. He wanted to talk a little bit more about his session on Joe Biden's health decline and the United States' shift to what he called a low-trust society.
There was one question. It was a long question. It was more of a conceptual question that I didn't get to ask in my session with Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. So they reported on this book, Joe Biden, his mental acuity declined. I think many of us saw what happened. And therefore, Donald Trump, or, a few steps in between, but let's just say Donald Trump is president. Looking back on Joe Biden's decline and them, as they say it, hiding it from the public, a cover-up. What it does is it erodes trust, right? And so the question is the way to repair the trust just to do what they do? I don't know that they have the ability to do anything else, but I was thinking about it like a fracture. And so our trust is fractured. And when you're repairing a fracture or resetting a fracture, the doctor does what he can, but sometimes the fracture doesn't set correctly. And sometimes the bone doesn't work well or the same way, or it sets in a weird way. And I kind of think that's where we're going with society, that it's not as simple as resetting a fracture. Something else must be done, because right now America is pretty much a low trust society. And I don't know that good reporting and going back and just sussing out the truth that wasn't sussed out before is actually the way forward. Maybe what really has to happen is very successful media outlets have to operate on the ideals of transparency and not just feeding the audience what they want. So the most successful media outlet Fox News gets 2.8 million viewers a night. I think they basically give the audience what they want. MSNBC very much does a version of that. They get 1.8 million viewers a night. And then down is Jake Tapper's outlet, CNN, and he gets 600,000 viewers a night. He has the number one show. So until those numbers are reversed, or until that you can make the case that there's a really excellent business model, not a niche business model, but kind of the only way to do business as a nonfiction outlet is to more or less own your mistakes and be accurate, but also be accountable, things aren't going to change.
This bonus episode of the Cascade PBS Ideas Festival podcast was produced by Serena Bayezid. Live interviews were produced by Serena Bayezid, Ryan Famuliner, and David Lee. You can subscribe to this feed wherever you listen to podcasts. At whatever platform you're listening on, please review us. We'd love to know what you think of the show. The Ideas Festival podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Join the members who help fund Cascade PBS original programs. Your donation will be put to work right away, delivering the lineup of podcasts, video docuseries, and daily in-depth reporting you and so many rely on. In addition to supporting our journalism, members receive great member benefits, including Cascade PBS Passport, which provides extended access to an on-demand library of local and PBS favorites. Go to cascadepbs.org/ideasfestivalpod to sign up today. For the latest political, investigative, and cultural coverage from the Pacific Northwest, visit cascadepbs.org. I'm Paris Jackson. Thank you for listening.